All right, so welcome. Today we're going to be dealing with sections D, E, and F, which make up portion 4 of the personal budget project. The first thing we're going to do is talk about gifts. Now, each of us are likely to give gifts at some time through the year, whether that just be at the holidays, whether that be for birthdays or anniversaries or other life events. It's very likely that you're going to have some cost for gifts, especially if you're going to expect people to remember you during those special days. And so I'm going to ask you to make a table in order to show those calculations. And so if you click on that link, that'll open up the table that you're going to need. Remember, in order to make edits into this document, you'll need to go to File and make a copy in order so that you can have a copy of the file to edit. The names that are already in here, obviously these are just made up, and the amounts, these are all for you to decide. And so you'll note that in the yellow area, if you modify the names, of course, and then if you modify the amounts, that will change over on the right-hand side the total gift amounts, right? So if I were to take some of these people out of my equation and say, or better yet, enhance it, right? And say, oh, Mr. Cohen, I'm going to give him $1,000. That's going to change our total annual gift amount significantly, right? And that comes with a monthly cost. And so what we're basically doing is budgeting a monthly amount to set it aside for those holidays, because those holidays are going to come, right? Those people are going to have their birthdays, we hope, and we don't want to have a surprise when those things happen and go, oh no, I forgot that, Christmas was in December. And so we don't want to have those problems, and we don't want them to throw financial wrenches into our overall budget. And so you can feel free to adjust the names and adjust the amounts, but don't modify these things here, because these are totals for these columns. And you'll notice that the columns total at the bottom, so please leave those alone as well. And so adjust these accordingly. And once you have the adjustments the way you like, you're going to click on File and Print, and you're going to print this document in, let's see if we can get it in portrait mode. And we'll print it in portrait mode so that it should all fit onto one sheet, right? So we'll try that once more just to be certain. File, Print. We want to say fit to width, right? Not actual size. We don't want it to go out onto multiple pages. So we'd like it in portrait mode. It makes it easiest to read when it's in your folder. And that's all you need to do for gifts, right? Just decide who you're giving to and how much you're giving them in gifts. Be realistic about it. I know that you may need to save some funds, and maybe you need to not buy as elaborate of gifts, but you are going to be buying gifts for different people. Once you've got your total gift amount, you're going to need to take that total, you're going to insert it into the overall overview, right? And so in section D, we're going to take it and we'll insert it into section D for gifts given, and that amount was $175.08. Next up comes charitable or donations and religious donations. Now keep in mind, right, some of these donations, charitable donations and religious donations to proper organizations, can be tax deductible. So when you are completing your taxes, you're able to not have to pay taxes on the amounts that are donated. And sometimes you can donate things and get a tax incentive, or you can donate cash and get a tax incentive. And so in this instance, we're only asking about those donations which come out of your budget, which are cash donations. And so in order to do that, we're going to go to section D, and there's a link for Charity Navigator. And Charity Navigator is a great site that has a bunch of different charities and gives them ratings based on how well they spend the money of donors. And so if we go to an organization about animals, we can try to find one that really fits our bill, right? The ones that are looking to protect animals, or whatever it is that you're interested in. And so you can just pick one that, unless you have one in mind, that you can do a search for here at the top. And so let's say I'll pick the Elmbrook Humane Society. And so you can see some of their scoring and how they compare to other charities based on how they expend their funds. So this way you get an idea for whether the charity is doing a good job with the money that's being given to it. And again, charity is optional. Now, should you choose to not donate anything to charity, I do want you to have a document that says, I will not donate to charity. So you will have a page that you'll print out that will read, I will not donate to charity. So even if you don't donate to charity, you still need to have a document that says, right, that says so. Section E, subscriptions. This is where you'll document if you have plan on having any newspaper subscriptions, magazine subscriptions, dues or membership fees. Are you going to be a part of any group or club or discount buying club like Costco or BJ's or Sam's? And so any of these fees that you might pay, for example, if you subscribe to a magazine that's say $20 for the year, you're going to divide by 12, and so the amounts might be somewhat small. And again, subscriptions are all your choice, right? I'm not going to step in and suggest that you should have one or not. Next up comes daily living. This is where you're going to find your grocery receipt. You're going to get a recent receipt from your parents or from yourself from visiting the grocery store that represents a normal grocery shop. And so if you typically go to the grocery store and spend about $100, you want to use that receipt from that average visit. If you do that once a week, then we're going to take your numbers and multiply by 4. Now, it depends on how many people you're buying for in your household, right? If in the example here, if I say that you have a total of receipts for $100 for a 1 week period, and everyone does their shopping a little differently. Some people will buy groceries 2 or 3 times a week. Some people will buy them once every 2 weeks. It just depends on you and your family and your desires for food. And so let's say you had receipts that totaled in $100 for a 1 week period, and you do that 4 weeks in each month, so you average about $400 per month. Well, we know that you're not responsible for eating all of that food, given that there's other people in the household, and so we're going to divide by the number of people in the household. So we'll take the total shopping or average shopping for the month and divide by the number of people in the household in order to get you a number. You can feel free to inflate that number because in truth, right, if we're sharing a gallon of milk, you can go in and buy a half gallon. You can buy smaller, quarter gallons or quarts of milk, but the prices of those are actually higher. And so you get a discount when you buy a larger volume. And so if you want to inflate the number, you're welcome to. Feel free to write right on the receipt, but do make sure that you include the receipt and your calculations as to how you arrived at your number in your work. Next up comes personal supplies, right? You can use drugstore.com or CVS in order to get yourself a shopping cart full of things like deodorant and gel or toothpaste or body wash, soap, shampoo, things of that nature, whatever you might think you would need within a month. Make that shopping cart, print the result, and use that total again in your budget. And we can't forget to do that, right? For groceries, right, let's say that this was my monthly amount. I would take that amount and insert it into my budget in section F where it says groceries. And we'll go to say we went to our CVS.com or drugstore.com and we find that there's a bill of $20 per month. We'll add that into our budget. Next up is clothing. And so you're likely to shop for yourself as a part of the workforce, and you might buy different clothes than you buy today, right? Depending on the kind of work that you're going to do. And so if you're going to work in a financial environment, a banking environment, you may need to wear a suit. If you're going to be a computer programmer and what you wear maybe isn't of consequence, then you might just wear a gray t-shirt and sweatpants. And so the kind of work that you do would often dictate the type of clothing that you're going to want to buy. And so you're going to want to buy enough clothing so that you can maybe make a whole year's worth of a wardrobe. And this way, when you buy that clothing, you can get it anywhere you like, from Banana Republic to Abercrombie & Fitch or American Eagle or Macy's or Marshall's. As long as you make yourself a shopping cart with those items, price them out, and take that total if it's representative of a year's clothing purchases, and also be certain that you don't forget any undergarments. You're going to need some underwear and such. if it's representative of a 1 year period, divide by 12. If you would buy this much clothes every 6 months, then divide by 6, and I think you're getting the drift. So remember, our budget, all our numbers are monthly. So after you've done that shopping, you'll input the amount, and let's say you're going to spend, I don't know, on average $100 per month. You'd be surprised what a couple of suits can cost you. Next up is cleaning. And you can use drugstore.com again. You can use Walmart, CVS, any website in order to buy yourself some cleaning supplies. So think about all the things that need to be cleaned in your home on a regular basis now, as those things will probably still need to be cleaned where you're going to live on your own. And buy some supplies, right? Buy yourself a mop, buy yourself some rags and some paper towels and some, some cleaning agents and detergents and things of that nature. And so once you find your items, add them to a cart, print the cart, and you can do any of your figuring about how frequently you're going to buy those items right there on the page. And so it's easiest to maybe buy them once a month or once every 3 months and make a whole cart of those things that you're going to buy every 3 months and just simply divide by 3. Next up is education and lessons. This is if you plan to take any coursework, right, regularly. You're going to take, a class on how to cook, or a class on how to, manage your finances, or, piano, or something of that nature. This is not for education, right? This is for like an enhanced, a course that you're taking just to enhance your life. If you're taking formalized education, then that's something that we're going to need to put elsewhere, right, in the student loan section. Dining and eating out. And so this is where you're going to be looking at some of the receipts that you have. If you don't have those receipts, you can, of course, go to the websites for a variety of restaurants and look at their menu and add those things up, print out those pages that have those things from the menu and add them up. Don't forget that you are going to need to add 6% for sales tax and also 20% for tip. We want to assume that you're going to get excellent service, and you want to be able to compensate those people who serve your food. Your tastes, depending on your tastes, everyone's amounts are going to be different, but I would say that it's likely that you're going to eat out, maybe even more than you do today, right? Because today you have a limited income in many cases, and you often go home to eat as a means of not expending that income. Oftentimes I find myself, I'll be working and I'll need to catch a bite in the middle of the day, or sometimes in the, on the weekends, and it's often easy for us to go out to eat. So you may find when you have the income to support it, that you'll eat out a little bit more frequently. So plan to eat out several times a week, right? I find it pretty unlikely that you'll eat out only once a month, right? That seems very unlikely. If you're going to eat out regularly at the same restaurant, you eat there once a week, you go to Taco Tuesday every Tuesday, as I have had some students do, then go ahead and price that in, right? And so you'll, multiply by 4 for the average month. Next comes up the salon and barber. And so I have a little link here which gives you a menu about haircuts from Hair Cuttery. Typically, you're going to find, and this is right here at Oakwood, right? Typically, cut and a shampoo runs about $18. I know sometimes, depending on your hairstyle and preferences, that it can become a little bit more expensive if you want to get your hair colored or straightened or things like that. Those things tend to cost more money. You're also likely to do them a little bit less frequently, but they do tend to cost a lot more. And so whatever suits your fancy, just make sure that you price it accordingly for a monthly budget, right? So if you get your hair cut once a month and that's $18, right? We're going to, factor in a tip for the person that cut your hair of maybe say $4. And so we're looking at 18 plus 4 is 22. If you do that, once every 2 months, then you're looking at about $11 per month. And so the more elaborate your hair, the more you're likely to spend on it. And next up is pet expenses. Pet expenses are totally optional. If you're going to have a dog or a cat, we're going to need to pay for the expenses for this animal, to feed it, to take care of it, to get it groomed. There's a wonderful page from the ASPCA which details some of the costs that go into owning your pet, cat, dog, what have you. And they even go over some of the information if you wanted to have a pig or a small bird or fish. It gives you a breakdown of what some of these costs are like. And so if, say, for example, I wanted to have a medium-sized dog, I'm looking at about $1,580 in the first year, because there may be some training classes that I need. I might need a carrier. I might need a collar and a leash. And so these are all expenses that you're likely to incur. And so we'll say $1,580. And so we're going to need to take that amount and we'll divide it by 12 to get our monthly amount. Remember, everything in our budget is monthly. And so that pet should cost me about $131.67. And we'll input that here. Makes you think twice about getting a dog or cat, huh? And don't forget to make sure that you have numbers for each portion of the daily living section. Of course, optional is this education and lessons and the other. Of course, you want to make sure that you have proof that's supplied with each of your numbers. And you've finished part D, E, and F. And so this is portion number 4 of the personal budget project. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'll be glad to write back and answer you as soon as I can. Thanks. Good day.